Hey Ram fam, it's time for Ramzone. Now to our host.
Hi guys, welcome to this week's episode of Ramzone. I'm your host, Kade Hinojosa, and today we have Coach Chuck Waddington with us today. How are you, Coach?
I'm doing great. It's another good week.
Awesome, amazing. Before we jump into it, I just want to get to know you a little more as just a person and a coach.
Sure.
So this is you've been at Angelo State for about 18 seasons now?
This is my 18th season. Correct.
Nice.
Yeah.
You've coached all levels of volleyball, high school, junior, club, and now you're in college. You've gotten 4 Lone Star Conference Coach of the Years throughout your career?
Sure.
Nice. How did you get started in volleyball?
Truth, I dated a girl that played volleyball when I was in college, and she wanted to play. I was a basketball guy.
Okay.
And so I had to learn how to play pretty fast, otherwise I was probably out of the picture, and that led to an opportunity a couple years later because I started playing, I got pretty good pretty fast, and right place, right time. It was never my plan to be a coach. I have a degree in physics and thought I'd be, living in the research world, the engineering world, but things just kind of fell into place, and I learned that it was something I really enjoyed and that I was actually pretty good at.
Amazing, awesome. And so I did see that you originally did go to college for physics. Was that the route you were going to go, was engineering, or what were you planning on doing with that?
Well, I ended up with a degree in physics. I was going to teach, and maybe get into the private side, the research piece of it, but I never quite got that far. Things just kind of fell in a different direction.
Nice. And so you said you were originally a basketball player.
Yeah, I played basketball at RPI, Rensselaer in upstate New York. It was Division III school, and still play a couple times a week, old man basketball. So
awesome.
try to stay active.
Nice. I love that. How did you take anything from your years playing basketball into learning how to play volleyball? And did those two sports ever collide a little bit to help?
Well, I learned a lot from the people that coached me. My high school basketball coach he's in the New York State Hall of Fame for basketball.
Okay.
My collegiate head coach was a very different style. So I learned from things that I liked, and I learned from things that I didn't like, and kind of melded the two together to come up with a style, that kind of challenges your players, but shows them that you really care about them at the same time. Coaching's not easy, that's for sure. Everybody thinks it's easy, just show up with a whistle and there you go. But it takes a lot of time to learn all the things you need to learn about the game, because if I was basketball, I played basketball from the time I was 6 until still playing, but I had to learn everything about volleyball because I was new to the sport. So it was a process for sure.
Awesome. So when did you start coaching? Because like I said, you've coached kind of all levels of volleyball. So when was your first year coaching?
This is my 30th year of coaching in general, and all of that volleyball with a couple of years of high school freshman boys basketball mixed in there when I was a high school teacher. It's just been, I never expected it to be that path, but it just kind of worked itself out.
Awesome. So what's the difference? But obviously there are big differences between college and high school and club and everything. What's kept you in college, and what's that big difference there for you there?
Well, one of the things is quality of life. Angelo State's a great place to be a coach. I think any of our coaches would tell you that. We have lots of resources. We have some of the best facilities in the country. We can attract some high-level athletes in all sports, and so success is something that keeps me coming back. But just the people, I can go anywhere in the country and know somebody based on my experience coaching and playing over the years, So it's kind of it's a big sport, but it's a small community. You really know a lot of people, and a lot of people know you. So it's kind of neat.
I like that. That's amazing. You said earlier that coaching's not easy, but obviously you love doing it. What is it about coaching that you love?
Well, I like, especially at the collegiate level, I love the process. You always come in with these freshmen who think they know all the answers, and they don't, and they realize that pretty quickly. But just watching them go through that transformation process from just bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, just trying to figure it out, to someone who graduates with a degree, wants to go on to grad school, and, is just ready to take on the world, all through sports, and that confidence that they get from the court, the lessons they learn, the relationships they build, it carries on the rest of their life. You know, like leading a team, being on a team, you know, you're going to work somewhere, you're going to work for somebody, or some people may work for you, depending on what you want to do. You got to know how to manage those people. You got to know how to be managed as well, you know, and kind of fit into whatever the team or corporate or whatever type of dynamic it is. You know, you learn a lot of that through team sports.
I like that. It's not just about the game on the court. It's, you take it throughout
Yeah.
the rest of life. That's amazing.
It goes with you everywhere, you know. And I say this all the time to my players when I recruit them, you know, like the people that you're going to spend the most time with, they're going to be the people that are in your wedding, you know, your teammates here. You know, I've been to a lot of weddings. I get invited to a lot, which is great, you know. But my oldest daughter, she got married this past year as well, and she played collegiate volleyball. And I looked out, and her husband now, he played collegiate baseball, and like so many of their teammates were there and in the wedding, you know, not just at the wedding. I mean, it's just, so it just kind of, it came full circle for me. Other things I've been saying for years are just so true, you know, like the relationships you form when you're playing sports in college, being an athlete, they stay with you forever.
That's amazing. I like that. You've just really just taken volleyball and just made it like, it's become just part of life for you.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Well, it's a vehicle for sure for all these kids. It's not just something they do, it's a part of them.
I love that. And so I love, you know, how you were going with, you know, you take the lessons that you learn in volleyball and take it into life and everything. You as a coach, what would you say your coaching style is?
You know, I want to challenge my kids. You know, I don't want them to be comfortable for too long, you know, and they'll tell you that, I'm sure. But at the same time, you know, I want them to work hard. I want them to be disciplined in whatever they're doing, but I want them to have fun, you know. And I think the biggest thing that I can teach them is not to settle for average. You know, you don't wake up in the morning and say, oh, I can't wait to be average today. You know, like you aspire to great things, but then you go through the day and you make so many choices. Some are little, may seem insignificant, but some are big choices. And if those choices are leading you towards great, by the end of the day, you're going to be a little bit better that day. And so if you're always striving towards great and not leading towards average, I think those choices really help make a difference in your life.
I love that. I love that. Now going into just, you know, some of the actual work that goes into, you know, a season and everything in the team, what do y'all do to prepare for each season and for each game?
Well, I think the biggest piece of collegiate coaching is not the preparation. I think it's recruiting. You know, having the right people in the gym or on the field or in your locker room, you know, whatever sport you're coaching, having the right people is the most critical piece. And it's not just about the best player. It's really about the right player, a player that shares your vision for just culture and goals and things that matter, you know, being selfless and others first. Like those things are critical to having chemistry within your team, to having buy-in, you know. I've coached a lot of different players over the years, but I think the common theme is that they're great humans, you know. Like, and I've missed a couple times. I wish I could say I was perfect in that process, but those kids stick out like a sore thumb, you know, and they can really ruin a really strong culture really quickly. So I'm really careful and thoughtful when it comes to choosing who I want to play for me, and I'll take the right player over the best player 10 out of 10. But sometimes the right player is the best player, you know, and when that happens, special things happen. You know, you have seasons like we had last year where you go to a Final Four and you just do all the things that you've been talking about doing for years, you know. So we've had a few of those too, so that's kind of fun.
Awesome. And have you had a lot of recruits this season, or what's the team look like this season?
So we have 21 players on our team, which is a lot. It's probably not the norm, you know. Usually it's somewhere 17 or 18 for most teams, but you know, they can all play. You know, they can all contribute in one way or another, and it's hard for them, and I know that it's hard for them because they have to be selfless. I play 9 or 10 kids in a match, so at any given time, more than half of my team is not playing. You know, but they still have the same expectations from me. Like they need to come in, they need to work hard, they need to be prepared. You know, like this past weekend, we had a couple late scratches from kids that had injuries that kind of built up, you know, and caught us by surprise. And we had to have some kids play that don't normally play, but they were ready, helped us win. It was great. It was nice to see them be prepared and ready for that moment.
Nice. And how do you determine who plays in each, match and everything?
Best player.
Best player.
Best player per position. Like if you want to get on the court, you got to be better than somebody. And that's probably true for most of our sports. There's no participation trophies. I love for everybody to play. That keeps everybody happy, but that doesn't win many championships. So we're gonna play the best kids. But your job is to work hard to, if you're not that kid, to be that kid. And if you are that kid, work hard to stay that kid, and that's the challenge of collegiate athletics. Somebody's always pushing, somebody's always working hard, and wants to be better, wants to get on the court. So they're going to do the things that get them there. So you better stay on top of your game.
Exactly. So y'all had a match this weekend.
Two,
and y'all won
both
of them.
Both. Yeah.
Both of them. What went into those matches that,
preparation?
Success?
Like we spent a lot of time last week working on a few things that we weren't great at, that we wanted to get better at, and those things really showed up for us on the court. We blocked a bunch of balls. We were in system a lot more. We set a lot of more balls that we could terminate, kill. And so I just think that there's a process, and we're at the beginning part. That was the first weekend of conference play for us. So we had a preseason. We played a pretty tough preseason. A lot of ranked teams. We took a few lumps more than we usually do. But you're hoping that the things that you learn and the holes that you find that you can improve upon, so that when you get to start conference, you're in a better place. And I think that we're not quite a finished product yet, and that's perfectly fine, because this is the beginning of the conference season, not the end. You want to peak at the end, not at the beginning. So I like that we have still room to grow, but that we're willing to grow.
That's amazing. What goes into y'all's weekly practices and everything to prepare for each?
Sure. So we're lifting a couple days a week on Mondays and Wednesdays. Brady Connor, our strength coach, he is fantastic. He keeps us healthy. He keeps us strong and prepared for whatever's next, but he's also doing it with our schedule in mind. It's not just a blind routine that we just go in and, lift heavy things, like he's trying to keep our kids fresh and healthy when big matches are on the horizon, So we'll lift a couple of days a week, Monday, Wednesday usually. Our matches are usually Friday, Saturday for conference. Like this weekend we'll be on the road for Friday, Saturday up in Oklahoma City, and then Lawton, Oklahoma for 2 conference matches. We'll practice in the afternoon, usually, to 3:30 in the afternoon on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then we'll hit the road. Plus these kids got to maintain their grades. Like our team GPA is usually around a 3.6, 3.7, and we work hard to maintain that. It's also part of the recruiting process. Smart players are better players. They make my job way easier. So we want academically motivated kids. We want them to be competitive on the court. We want them to be competitive in the classroom. We want them to be involved in community service. Those are probably the 3 things that I push the most with my team.
That's amazing. And it goes back to, you're not just coaching a team on a court, but you're also building up just individuals in general for just life in general.
Yeah, we sure try. I mean, that's the goal. Like it's not a perfect science by any stretch, and everybody kind of goes along that path at a different pace. But that's the goal in mind. When they get done playing here, that they're ready for anything life throws at them.
That's awesome. How do you balance the, coaching the team as a whole and coaching an individual to, get them better, not only for themselves, but for the team as a whole?
Well, I think one of the great things about our group right now is that I have a lot of kids that want to do the extra. They want to come early. They want to stay late. They want to improve, because they realize that if they're just coming to practice every day, that's the minimum. You know what I mean? And the minimum doesn't get you where you want to be if you're not in that spot. So I have a lot of kids that are interested and willing to come in and do the extra. We use the expression willing to all the time. Are you willing to do what it takes to make us better, to make yourself better, to help us be a championship caliber team, to meet those championship standards on a daily basis? And some days you fall short, but these are kids that are willing to come in and try every day to meet the standard.
Amazing. How do you foster chemistry and trust among players who are new and coming off the bench? All the recruits that you get, how do you get them to become a part of this big family that you've created?
Well, one of the things you asked me, about I mentioned my coaches that I learned from. Like when I was in college, our collegiate coach would only train the 5 or 6 guys that were going to play. everybody else kind of stood and watched. You know, and so I learned that right away, that the folks that are on the sideline, they're not going to be prepared. So all of our kids are training, they're involved. Like, I mix players, you know, a lot of places will have their starting group and their reserve group, their A side, B side. Well, we mix kids all the time, because you just never know when Susie gets hurt or is sick or something, you know, when she's not going to be available. And so everybody has to be prepared to do their part. And so I think now we do some A side, B side stuff, you know, for sure. We want to foster, you know, the relationships of people working next to each other on the court. But at the same time, you have to be prepared when something comes up, you know, like, and so I try to make sure everybody's ready and give them that opportunity. But they have to make sure that they are prepared mentally, you know, and physically for those opportunities as well.
Awesome. What is your process when preparing for a conference opponent, and how much, you know, video studying, scouting reports, or simulation do you practice?
So as a staff, my assistant coaches and myself, we spend a lot of time watching film. Now our players, they have access to our opponent's film. They can watch it if they want, and we encourage it, but we don't hammer them with it, you know, because there's a lot of other things, you know, that they're trying to pass their classes. They're trying to, you know, keep their bodies right, you know, and maintain all the things that they need to do to be just a good student athlete. But we do prepare scouting reports for them based on what we've watched. You know, we show that to them. You know, we give it to them the day before we play. We go over it again the day of a match, you know, and so they have an idea of what to expect. And we're also building some of those things into our practice plans, you know, so that the first time they see it isn't against the opponent, you know, and they may not know that we're specifically doing this because an opponent does it, but they're exposed to it so that when it happens, they're not surprised.
Okay, amazing. What are some goals that you're looking to reach specifically this season?
Our goals are the same every year.
Okay.
We want to win a conference regular season championship and host a conference tournament. We want to win the conference tournament. We want to make an NCAA regional. We want to win the regional. If we win the regional, we want to, you know, advance in the Elite Eight and win a national championship. You know, so it's the same every single year. Every kid that's ever played for me has heard those same words, had those same goals. Like when I first got here and I said, this is what we're aiming for, I inherited a team that had only won 6 matches the year before, and they thought I was kidding, you know, and I'm like, no, these are the things that this is the standard that we're setting. Now, we may fall short, but that doesn't mean we're going to lower our standards, you know. And so as the years have gone by, like we took that 6-win team, and their first year they won 20 matches, you know, and so it was instant that we were competing at a much better level, you know, because you have to recruit kids that know how to win and like to win, and you have to teach kids that don't know how to win how, you know, and how to prepare and how to have expectations of not only their team but themselves as well. And so that process took a little bit, but we're, you know, every year I can say we have a chance, you know, and my crew has always been prepared for the best case scenario, and so that's what we're playing for every day.
I like that. That's amazing. Just kind of, you know, just keep going and you have your goals set and you're very visible of what they are, and you communicate that very well to your team. I think that's amazing. All the accomplishments that you've had, you know, coaching for almost 30 years, your Lone Star Conference Coach of the Year, nominations and awards and everything. What do you think has gone into that and winning those awards and just all the recognition that you've gotten as a coach?
Well, I think I don't get any of that without great players. You know, I don't get any of that without excellent support from our admin and our presidents that have been here over the years. You know, like each president has really been supportive of athletics and given us what we need to be successful, both financially so that we can travel and we can recruit and we can scholarship kids. But then, like, you know, just getting a text message after our match, you know, even if they can't be there, like our current president, General Hawkins, he tries to be at everything, and I love that. And most of our presidents have tried to do that, you know. It says a lot, but if he can't be there, I know I'm going to get a text message from him. You know, Dr. May, who was our president before, after every match, I'd get a, hey, great job, or, you know, you get them next time, whatever. We don't lose very much, but like when it happens, they're interested, you know. And, man, there are a lot of places where that's not the case, you know. And so General Hawkins was a student athlete here, You know, he ran track here back in the day when he was here. So having that kind of support, but even more than that is having support at home. Like my wife is super supportive. You know, I travel a lot and I miss a lot of things for my own kids, and that's hard. It's really hard. But like knowing that they're there and they believe in what we're doing here too is really probably the most important piece.
That's awesome. Speaking of your family and everything, you said you have 3 kids, and 2 of them also played volleyball as well. Did they just kind of fall in love with it on their own, or did they kind of follow in your footsteps?
Well, the oldest one, she was a setter in college. She played at Central Arkansas, but she was born on a Tuesday and she was in the gym on Saturday. So I mean, she didn't really have a choice. You know, she's always been in the gym, and that kid was always like, "Hey, will you pass the ball with me? Will you pepper with me? Will you?" And like, she was always that person, you know, and she didn't know any different, you know, and she was great. She was a really good player, but she was also a really good student, you know. She just graduated from med school, you know. My son, he came to a lot of my camps and clinics and stuff and knows volleyball pretty well. He's a sophomore at Tech, but he'll graduate after 2 years. He'll graduate this year, so he's really a senior, I guess. But he's a student manager for the volleyball team up there. He plays club tennis. He played tennis in high school. You know, he likes to compete, likes to win, but he wants to go to med school too. He wants to follow his sister's tracks. And my youngest, she's 12. She's different than the other 2, but she's starting to figure out that she likes volleyball too. And I don't push it. Like I'll let them choose the things that they want to do. I mean, I would love for them to all play, but like if they don't, you know, like she's in the band too, and she loves that. So I try to meet them where they are, you know, and support what they want to do. And if they want to play volleyball, I can surely help them, you know, improve their game. But if that's not their thing, that's okay too. You know, like I'm just trying to, like I said, meet them where they are and help them be the people they want to be.
Absolutely. It sounds like you're just an all-around, just good-hearted man who just wants the people that he, you know, his kids or the people that he coaches, just to have just the best part of life that they can, and really give them the tools and stuff to prepare for that.
Well, I'm glad that you think that way, but I'm sure that there are days that my players, you know, like it's hard. Like I'm hard to play for because I demand a lot. I have high expectations of myself and of my players, you know, and so I'm going to push them some days when they don't want to be pushed, you know. So I don't think every day is perfect, you know, like a fairy tale, like, oh, everything's roses, you know. And I'm sure they would say that too, but when they get done, they know that they have someone that has their back and wants great things for them. If they feel that way, then I think I've done my job.
Absolutely. And I feel like you do need somebody in your life or in your corner that's going to push you when you don't want to. And it just makes you, you know, like you said, it makes you just even greater. And not as just a player, but as a person in general. Yeah,
I think today, you know, like when kids face adversity today, there's just too many things that say, oh, it's okay, you know. And there's a place for that. Like, I'm not saying that like, I'm not that general, like, hard-nosed guy. Like, I have empathy for a lot of things that these kids go through that we never had to. Like, social media is horrible, you know, like, it can ruin people, you know. And so we didn't have to deal with that when I was a student athlete, you know, or like, and even my oldest daughter, she didn't really have to deal with much of that. But now kids these days, they're facing pressure from all different sides of life, you know, and so it's hard to deal with that stuff. So I understand that, but I'm always going to be the one that's going to help them push through that stuff, you know. And, you know, if you can do hard things now, life gets easier at the end. If you don't do hard things now, life gets hard at the end, you know. So like, get through the hard now and be in a way better place when you're older, instead of just cruising now and all of a sudden not really knowing how to deal with hard things, you know, later on in your life when you can't do much about it, you know. So and I know that, you know, they may not feel it in the moment, but a lot of them always reach back out to me and tell me like the things that they learned have helped them get where they want to be. So I really like that part.
I love that. That's amazing. You know, you've talked a lot about, you know, just the chemistry and the bond that the team has, and how that's important as a team to go out and play. You mentioned also y'all do a lot of community service and stuff. What else do y'all do outside of practice and the games to keep that going? Well,
you know, a lot of people when they choose a university to go or be a student athlete, they want a family feel, you know. But like every family, like I don't know if you have brothers or sisters, but it's not always perfect. You're going to fight. You're going to have disagreements. And so the other piece to all this stuff is that you have to teach kids how to handle conflict, how to confront it, how to, that doesn't mean we're just going to go fight. You know what I mean? It means you have to learn you're going to deal with people in your life down the road that aren't going to agree with you, that are going to be stubborn, that don't have the same values as you, and so you can't just, get mad. You're going to have to learn how to work with those people and work for those people or have those people work for you, So you got to learn how to manage conflict. You got to, learn how to resolve conflict. And that's what most people don't like. They don't like conflict, But it's an important piece to life, and the people that learn how to manage conflict, they end up doing great things, It's just they have great relationships, they have great families and great, just things in their life seem to work better because they don't just get mad and frustrated and bury their head in the sand. They tackle things head on.
That's amazing. And so what kind of community projects and services do y'all be a part of?
So especially in the spring, we spend a lot of time at the Boys and Girls Club.
Okay.
Like volleyball is one of those sports where, it's an expensive sport. Like for kids to go play club or travel, like it costs thousands of dollars, So it's not always available to every type of kid out there. And so when we go to the Boys and Girls Club, they are coming in contact with kids that just probably are coming from a way different background that they ever had, and it's a very eye-opening experience for them. We run a lot of camps and clinics. We spend our time out in the community, like delivering meals, like we do all kinds of stuff, make donations to the food bank, pack bags. Like when COVID hit a few years ago, across the street in the baseball parking lot, we partnered with the food bank here in Tom Green County in the Concho Valley, and we were packing bags and food and supplies for families that were without, and the line was so long. Like you just never know it until you know it, how many people around you need help and are just not in as good a place as you are. And so I think that was very eye-opening for our players, and it just gives them a sense of like, listen, I can make a difference. I think the other thing is like, sports is an avenue for that kid that maybe doesn't feel like they fit in, like the tall girl when she's in third grade feels so awkward, and then they come to a volleyball match and they see a bunch of tall girls and they're like, hey, maybe I can be like that, because these girls are confident and they're strong and they're not awkward. They don't feel awkward. They feel powerful, and so when they can connect to someone on our team like that, I just think that's amazing, and I love that we have the opportunity to be role models to these young women here in the Concho Valley.
That's incredible. I love just the thought and the passion that you have in everything, and just I love that. As we're beginning to wrap up, what are your just final thoughts on just continuing as the season continues and just getting better?
No, just I think it's a process for us. We're going to continue to get better. We're top 20 in the country right now. We're going to continue to climb, but I would love for our student community to come out and just watch us play. Like come check it out. Volleyball is not like the backyard volleyball with Uncle Will, who is just, we call it barbecue volleyball. Like it's not that. It's athletic, it's fast, it's loud. We have great crowds. We're top 5 in the country in attendance, but we want our students to be involved in that. So hopefully they can come out and just check us out. We give away money every, we throw out shirts, we have a chance to win money. It's a pretty cool atmosphere. So I'd love for them to come and check it out.
Awesome. I'll have to go check it out sometime.
Very good.
Awesome. I love that. Well, Coach, thank you so much for coming chatting with us today.
Of course.
Appreciate it. And I hope you'll have a killer season, rest of the season.
Heck yeah.
Thank you all for watching this episode of Ramzone with Coach Chuck Waddington. We'll see you next time.